What up guys, it's Valkia and welcome to my latest How to Play Pharah guide. Now that I've been top 500 and Grandmaster level, I've learned a few things along the way since I made my last How to Play Pharah guide, and hopefully you can learn from them. There are not that many people playing Pharah at a higher level. Player 0 is too much of a risk hero, too easy to take out, and not very effective. Unlike some of the other lesser picked heroes in a game, Pharah can bring a wealth of input for your team, and when played properly she can really cause mass destruction. Let's identify Pharah's pros and cons, her strengths and weaknesses, because if you don't understand this, you ain't going to get any better at Pharah. So her pros is she's a high damage dealer, 120 damage per direct rocket. It's the same as Genji on his ultimate with a slice of his blade. Putting it in that kind of perspective, you really start to understand how much damage Pharah can really do once you start hitting those direct rockets. She's a great flanker, going over rooftops, underneath the map, using that as an escape route or surprising the enemy from, different angles. It's definitely one of her stronger points, and using that as an escape route at the same time. If you get yourself in a tricky situation, you can use the map and the environment to get away and keep yourself safe. Now, let's look at the cons. She can easily be shot down when she's in the open, but through the video, I'm going to teach you how to keep yourself safe. She typically isn't seen to be playing with the team, so this is something that you need to think about and rework. It's something I'm going to cover during the video again, because it's super important that the team see you to be playing with them and doing the same objectives and focusing the same goals as they need you to be focusing, and not just going off on your solo missions. And one more thing I kind of see as a con here is having a Mercy at a higher level, because it can take away a lot of the support focus that your team needs as a whole. For example, Lucio's speed boost is effective for everybody, whereas a Mercy is effective to one person at a time. And I feel that when you take away so much support from the team, it might not be the best idea, especially when, for example, there's an Ana boosted Reinhardt and the team need to get away from him. Lucio can switch over to speed and get away, whereas with the Mercy you can't do that. So it's more effective to have the Lucio at that point, especially if you're pushing through small choke points like on Hanamura or on Temple of Anubis, where you've got to go through the archways and you've got to get through quickly. Lucio is far better to use than having a Mercy. That doesn't mean that having a Mercy is always bad though, so don't keep that in your mind. This is just something that I have experienced during my time playing at a higher level with the team. Alright, let's get to the good stuff, but like in any match in Overwatch, the most important thing is team communication. Doesn't matter if you're in Bronze or in Grandmaster to Pro level. Communication really helps the team form what they're going to be doing when they're doing their pushes. If you're not in the voice chat, then you're going to have people who are going off doing their own thing and not really understanding what is going to be happening. There are some people who think they're too good for the game, who don't join voice chat in Grandmaster, thinking, oh, it's just bad information, but actually these people are the weak link in the game. So communication is super key, especially with Pharah. You'll find that some people will tilt when you take Pharah, and they'll say, switch off Pharah, do this, but what you have to do is, if you start talking to the team, you start working through tactics and techniques and what you're going to be doing on your pushes, the team is more likely to accept you playing the Pharah, because they feel like you're being part of the team and not just picking a hero, not joining the voice chat and doing nothing with it. You need to be effective. You need to work with your team, and that is one of the key points to playing Pharah at a higher level. You've got to make sure that you have everything in sync with the rest of your team. The higher you go in Overwatch, the more you're going to need to rely on team combos. That's because that's what the enemy team are going to do. You use your ultimates together, no more than about 2, potentially 3 ultimates per push. But if you do that, then you can wipe the team out. So for me, as a Pharah player, what I love is the Zarya combo, Zarya Pharah combo. If they have a Zenyatta, also, if you Ana boost the Pharah, you can out-damage the Zenyatta even through Transcendence. Alright, so I've booted up a custom game. We're on King's Row, and we're going to do like a pretend attack. I'm going to talk you through what's going on in my mind, my checklist that I look out for to make sure I keep myself safe. So typically I'll go from attack on the top right hand corner, and I'll fly just behind this wall, and I'll take a look at the team, and what I'll do is communicate to my own team what I can see. Soldier on the high ground, Roadhog on the bottom left, they've got a Mei, go up to the top right. You are the eyes in the sky, because you've got so much height. You have that advantage to make sure that there's nobody hiding around the corners like Mei, and that's your wall up, and then, your Reinhardt will go down. So that's a really good advantage. Now, the only thing you really need to look out for at this point is a Widowmaker. If the Widowmaker spots you, you've literally just got to let go of your hover and you fall down. If you can get behind cover, great. Use your concussive blast to get out of the way. If you use your concussive blast, it makes it way harder for the enemy Widowmaker to try and get a shot on you. If there's a soldier, you can even start putting a couple of rockets on him to try and make him change his position so he doesn't start shooting our shield. Now, look at your team composition. Do you have a Roadhog? Do you have a Soldier and a Reinhardt? If you do, that's a great team comp to burn down the enemy Reinhardt shield. So you can even just stay on the floor and just start shooting rockets to the enemy Reinhardt. It's always good practice to keep in the back of your mind where your counters are and what damage they can do from what range. So for example, if I'm here, a Widowmaker can take me down at any distance at full damage. Whereas a Soldier and a McCree can start shooting you, but most likely at this range, they're not going to take you down. You have too many options to keep safe and healers, and you can drop down out of the sky, and of course with the damage drop off at that range. So Soldiers and McCrees aren't actually that much of a problem until you get to a medium range. Now, one big one to look out for is Roadhogs. If you get too close to Roadhogs, you're dead. Make sure to stay out of the range of his hook, because the hook just goes on and on and on and on, and if you get hooked, you're pretty much out of that game. So if you see a Roadhog, make sure to just use your concussive blast, get away from him, because as soon as he sees you, he's going to start thinking about hooking you, and you need to react super fast so you don't get hooked. You've also got to remember that his right click range is a one-hit kill for Pharaohs, so keeping outside of that range too is recommended as well. Alright, so let's start talking about planning your attack as Pharah. With Pharah, you've got to be at least 2 to 3 steps ahead of what's going to happen when you go and push in for an attack. If you're only 1 step ahead, or at least just thinking about what you're doing at the time of doing it, most likely you're going to die because you won't expect certain things to happen and they're going to take you down. You have to always expect the possibility that Roadhog has always got his hook, D.Va has always got her defense matrix, Ana has always got her sleep dart. These are things that you've really got to understand and think about and be very cautious of. Let's go in for an example. So say we've got like a Soldier or a McCree on the high ground here. How I engage Soldier and McCree is I use my concussive blast on the floor to get to them as quickly as possible and cause as much pressure as quickly as I can, because then they get flustered, their aim goes off, and it's easier for you when you're right on top of them. Now, if I was to go up onto the top right hand corner, what are my problems? What do I have to think about when I go up? So if it's a McCree, if I get too close, I'll get flashbanged and he'll be able to take me down. A Soldier could put down his healing grenade or his healing biotic field and heal up from it. Who on the floor is going to potentially be a target if I go up there? Am I going to attack on my own, or is the team pushing at the same time, distracting anybody who's down on the floor? So let me go and show you a typical example of how I attack a Soldier or McCree, or a Widowmaker for that fact. So I'll use my concussive blast, I'll turn around, I'll use my concussive blast on the floor, and then I'll use my shift, and then I will shoot one single rocket as soon as I do that. And hopefully, with all the practice, I hit my direct rocket onto them straight away, and then all I need to do is put a second rocket on, depending on who they are, and then they'll go down. So, blast, one rocket on, and then second rocket. If that's a McCree, he's pretty much a dead man straight away. I'm in a safe zone, because you don't typically get more than 1 or 2 heroes up on this ledge. Also, down on the floor, they can't see me up here because I'm close to the wall. I've thought about my attack, and I know that I'm safe for the next engagement. Also, I got my shift back, and I've also got my concussive blast back. So I've got both of the things I need to keep safe. You can use concussive blasts in a few different ways. I mainly use it to keep myself safe, and use it if I'm in a sticky situation to get behind cover, comboed with my concussive blast and then floating wherever I need to go. I also use concussive blast to get myself into a better position to put rockets in, or getting myself in position ready to do my ultimate. When you start winning a team fight and the enemies start to retreat, the concussive blast is really good to catch up with them. As you can see in this clip here, the Lucio starts speeding away with the Ana and the Soldier, and I'm able to catch up with them and take them down. And let's not forget the bread and butter of the concussive blast, which is knocking enemies off the map and getting environmental kills, and making sure to wave to them on the way down. There's a lot of maps which you can do this on. One of my favourites personally is Lijiang Tower Guarding Stage, but what I recommend to do is get yourself in a custom game with a friend, and just go onto the maps where players might happen to be next to edges, like on the bridge on Garden Stage, and just find out where the best place to concussive blast is. I do this sometimes, now and again with a friend. We'll just go onto maps and I'll just see, I'll see where the best place is to concussive blast, because it can really help your team on the first engagement. If you take out like 2 of the enemies on the bridge or off the side of the map, you're pretty much going to win that team fight. There's one technique I love to do. It's basically a bait and switch, and it tests the gamer sense of the player on the other team. So for example, I go off the edge of a map, a soldier or a roadhog's above thinking to themselves, well, I can take this Pharah out because, you know, I'm a soldier, I'm a hit scan. He'll walk to the edge of the map. I will then go up into the sky using my boost and then concussive blast behind them, knocking them off. And you don't believe how many people fall for it. There's so many people, especially on Hanamura at the very back of the point. What I will actually do is tell the team, if you get into problems, fight at the back of the map, because then what I'll do is I'll fall off the back and I'll come up and I'll knock them off. So actually it evens out the team fights. But so many people fall for it, and some of the better players don't fall for it. So that's the guys that you've really got to watch out for. But that's one technique of staying alive as Pharah when you're versus quite a few people. I've been in situations where people are trying to hunt me down, maybe 3 of them, because the team fight is over, I'm the only one left. I go below the eye line of off the edge of the map, and then they all come to the edge trying to get me because I'm the last one alive. I blast up and then I can knock off, 3 to 4 of them and try to save the point. Unfortunately, not this time. You can also use the very same technique, not just to knock people off, but also to evade enemy ultimates. In this clip, a soldier pops his ultimate, I go underneath the eye line so he can't see me. If he goes to the edge, I will knock him off, but he doesn't. So what I do is I do a surprise attack on the Ana who's just above, and then I concussive blast back straight into the action. So, falling below the eye line is simply one of Pharah's movement techniques. If you want to become a master of Pharah, you've really got to understand how she moves and what she can do. Get yourself into places which the enemy simply don't expect you to be in, but make sure that your team know exactly what you're doing. Work with your team. Be above somewhere and say, hey, let's use the Ana boost on me so I can surprise them as they push out of this doorway. That's something which I do regularly. Pharah is a flanker. She can go high in the sky in places which the enemies just can't see you, and you can drop straight onto the healers from behind. Using that sort of technique is something I use daily, and it's become very effective. I did cover in a previous video about using the environment to your advantage, including rooftops. This is a great one for Pharah, because you slide, you're moving, but people don't actually hear you. This is an example on Iconvold, where I can get to the back line very quietly, and normally I can take out the Ana. So in summary of movement of environment, think of ways which you wouldn't normally take if you're a Pharah player, and think, how can I use this certain object to my advantage? The combination of taking unusual routes, concussive blast to keep yourself safe and also to engage the enemy, is what turns you into a great Pharah player. The more accurate you become with your rockets, the greater threat you become to the enemy. If you want to become more accurate with Pharah or learn to do air shots, I highly recommend check out one of my older videos called The Advanced Guide to Playing Pharah. That guide covers the basic mechanical maneuvers and skills you need for Pharah. This video is more about what I've learned since making that video to where we are now in Grandmaster, and the things I've learned and the advice I can give to you so you can be aware of things. As Pharah is a flanker, taking out the supports on the other team is quite important. You should become familiar with the typical locations that the support players sit in on each map. This means that you can start planning your route, whether it be flanking over a building, underneath somewhere, or even walking with the team to a point where you can suddenly burst in and take the supports by surprise. When I play Pharah, I always try and keep in mind where the supports are at all times. If I damage one of them, you'll hear me call that the support is low. So if there is another flanker on our team, a Tracer or a Genji, that can be their primary focus. You'll know if you watch any of my live streams, I'll always say somebody's low, somebody's low, somebody's low. Because with Pharah, you can do a lot of initial damage and then the team can follow up and finish them off. Another one of Pharah's primary roles is to go and contest the high ground if you don't have another hero such as a D.Va. Now D.Va is lesser played now than she was before in the last patch, so Pharah can go up and contest, take their attention, knock them down, or do what you can, because if you don't have a hero which can flank up, if you don't have a Genji or a D.Va or a Pharah, you're pretty much screwed if somebody's on the high ground. So a couple of little pointers for you as well. If the enemy team have got themselves a Pharah, it's not your primary role to take down that Pharah. Leave it for somebody else on the team. Always let the team know where the Pharah is. But Pharah versus Pharah fights take far too long, and that's time wasted where you could be burning down Reinhardt shields, or you could be going for the supports. Because if you're spending time in the air and there's a battle below you, you're really not doing too much to help your team. Leave it for somebody else. Secondly, if you do get damaged, always know where the healers are on your team, so you can concussive blast to them easily and quickly, and make sure to press the X button or the I need healing button, whatever it is on console, so that the healers can locate you easily. Because don't forget, when you're in the sky, it's you know, it's not too easy for an Ana to heal you. She can do, but then she's again taking her focus away from the team. But it is quite important that you do get heals. Making it easier for your healers is definitely one way to go. Sometimes you'll see me fly right next to my Ana and just stay still so she can heal me up. However much I would like it to, Pharah just simply doesn't work in some situations. You need to make sure that you have a backup hero that you can play. Mine is Zarya, McCree, Soldier, and a few others. But my main is definitely Pharah, and I can make her work in more situations than some people know that Pharah works in. That's the problem as well. Some people don't realize the potential of Pharah. They'll see another Pharah player just take Pharah and get shot out of the sky because of playing it quite differently from the way that you would be playing it. And that becomes quite frustrating when somebody would tell you to switch off Pharah straight away without actually knowing the potential of what you can do. Sometimes I surprise my teammates with the way that I play and my communication with them. But sometimes, like I said, Pharah just simply doesn't work, so you'll need to make sure you can switch up to something else. So let's do a summary rundown of the video. So you take Pharah, know who your counters are, and how far away you need to be to make sure that you keep yourself safe. Know the particular locations of where the Roadhog sits or the supports on the other team are going to sit on which particular map. Use the environment as cover. Keep yourself safe by going underneath or flying over rooftops and using silent drops to make sure that you can have the proper element of surprise. Know when Genji's deflect is down, or if he has got a deflect you can bait it out, but don't shoot it when he is deflecting. When Zarya pops her shield on herself or on another one of her teammates, make sure that you don't shoot the shields. It is pretty difficult with Zarya's because it's a projectile hero, but try your best to make sure that you don't charge the Zarya's. That is definitely one of the downfalls with projectile hero. Talk to your team. Make sure that you can set up some combos with your team. Zarya and Pharah, Zarya and Ana are two very good combos that you can use, and sometimes you can use all three of them together. And make sure to help with the team objective. If you're burning down a Reinhardt shield, you have a lot of damage, and if you're not doing it, then your shield could go down before the enemy's shield does. And finally, just a common question that I get asked all the time is what DPI and sensitivity do I use playing Pharah? I use 400 DPI on 6 sensitivity. It's quite low, but I'm used to it, and the more you play with it, the better you'll become. So that brings us to the end of this Pharah guide. Hopefully you've learned something new. A lot of practice is needed to get better at Pharah, but if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a thumbs up and subscribe. You can also catch me on my live streams every day, streaming from about 3 PM UK time to see some live Pharah plays, and also I can answer questions live in chat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.